Hi everyone, you're all very welcome to this urban field study which is going to be based on my hometown of Killarney in County Kerry. This is for the Teaching Subject Masteries Humanity pillar, as you all know. My name is Jim O'Donovan and my student number is 2000903. So let's move on with the field study. Some of the learning outcomes for this podcast presentation are as follows. The rationale behind this topic and why I chose it. The significance of this field study with regards to the history curriculum. An introduction into the history of Killarney and some of its famous monuments, how to incorporate key skills into a field study, and how cross-curricular methods can be achieved with this field study. The rationale of this field study in relation to the study of history is that it's going to develop in students the knowledge, understanding, concepts, skills and values that are fundamental to the study of history. It will also provide students with a historical perspective that improves their understanding of the contemporary world. It will encourage recognition that historical narratives must be based on evidence. It will also emphasize the importance of independent thought. And finally, and most importantly, it develops students' ability to think critically and to communicate. Now, the significance of this field study in relation to the curriculum is that the report on the research study will account for 20% of the total marks of their research study. The experience in evaluating documents will benefit the document-based study as the questions appear on leaving and junior certificate papers based on the documents. It will develop students' ability to interrogate and evaluate a range of historical sources. And finally, the skills and understanding developed should inform their work on the topics for study on the leaving and junior certificate. I wanted to analyse the learning pyramid, basically just to analyse how the bottom four, maybe the bottom three topics of the learning pyramid are going to benefit and going to be incorporated into this field study. 30% for demonstration, 50% for discussion, 75% for students practicing, doing something, 90% for students teaching others. Basically, just to show how beneficial a field study is in relation to students' learning and their development. So here's our field study agenda for the day. Firstly, we're going to be analysing Ross Castle, and a lot of people who've been to Killarney on holidays or visiting may be familiar with Ross Castle, a famous tourist attraction. Secondly, we're going to be analysing Monsignor Hugh Flaherty, who had a monument unveiled on the 30th of October 2013. Almost seemed to be a forgotten hero for a long time in Killarney, but in recent times he has rose to popularity and almost everybody in the town knows his history and knows who he is since the unveiling of this monument in 2013. Finally, we're going to be looking at Inishvallen Island and Abbey, which is seen as, well, to a lot of historians, as the first college in Ireland. Our field study begins with Ross Castle. The castle was built in the late 15th century by one of the O'Donoghue Ross Gaelic chieftains. The castle is considered a typical example of the stronghold of an Irish chieftain during the Middle Ages. Now I know that this study is for leaving certificate students, however this field study could be recycled and used with junior certificate students when you consider that medieval castles and medieval castles in Ireland is very prominent on the junior certificate. This castle is surrounded by a fortified bawn, its curtain walls defended by circular flanking towers, two of which remain today. Now in relation to the 500-year history of Rosscastle, perhaps the most significant event in this 500-year history occurred in 1652. The Cromwellian general Ludlow and his army of 4,000 foot and 2,000 horse soldiers pursued the retreating Lord Muskerry and his Irish forces from Cork to Killarney. Ludlow laid siege to Muskerry and his remaining forces at Rosscastle. The castle was well defended against attack from land, and fearing a protracted siege, Ludlow hastened the surrender when he brought artillery up the Lough River on specially constructed boats and laid siege to the castle from the lakeside also. It is said that an old Irish prophecy that Ross Castle would never fall until a ship should swim upon the lake may have been instrumental in the decision to surrender. So, the castle came into the hands of the Browns, who became the Earls of Kenmare. They acknowledged the acknowledged founder of the Killarney town in 1754 and the father of Irish tourism. In 1970, the castle came into state ownership and has been beautifully restored by the Office of Public Works, or the OPW, and refurnished in the style of the 17th century. Legend has it that O'Donoghue still exists in a deep slumber under the waters of Lough Lane. On the first morning of May every 7 years he rises from the lake on his magnificent white horse and circles the lake. Anyone catching a glimpse of him is said to be assured of good fortune for the rest of their lives. Rosscastle was the last stronghold of Munster to hold out against Cromwell. It was eventually taken, as we've just seen, in 1652 by General Ludlow. After many years of fundraising, the statue of Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty was unveiled in full as part of his Memorial Week on Wednesday the 30th of October 2013 to mark the 50th anniversary of his death. Through the unveiling of this statue, the Memorial Committee has decided to create a permanent and fitting tribute to him in his hometown of Killarney. On that day, in 2013, the Memorial Committee stated that we hope that this and future generations will be inspired by Hugh O'Flaherty's incredible deeds and example and will in turn play their own part in making our world a better place. Although Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty was born in Kishcame, he grew up in Killarney. He had a vocation for the priesthood, and as a young seminarian he was posted to Rome in 1922, the year Mussolini came to power in Italy. He earned a degree in theology in just 1 year while studying in Rome, was ordained in 1925, and continued his studies for a further 2 years, earning doctorates in divinity, canon law and philosophy. He was a skilled diplomat and served the Vatican in Egypt, Haiti, San Domingo and Czechoslovakia. After a period of 4 years, he was recalled to Rome and was appointed to the Holy Office. Now, he was a talented golfer, but these connections would prove vital in his future. He was also devoted to golf from his early age, playing in Killarney. While in Italy, he played regularly with Count Ciano, Mussolini's son-in-law, and with the ex-king Alfonso of Spain. His high standing in the social life of Rome would stand him in good stead during the Nazi occupation of Rome, as we will see. Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty was an intensely proud Irishman and deeply nationalist, having seen the Black and Tans in operation during his early years in the seminary. Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty realised very early on that he needed to be on the good side. That contrasted sharply with the position taken by Pope Pius XI, however, who hesitated while the Nazis seemed to run over Europe. Flaherty organised the escape route for Allied troops who had escaped prisoner of war camps or had been shot down but survived. Through an incredibly close network of friends and confidants, he set up safe houses all over Rome and in the Vatican itself, where his work soon drew grave suspicion from the Nazis. Kappler, who was the leader of the SS, suspected Flaherty and had him under surveillance at all times. O'Flaherty almost comes across as a Michael Collins figure, however hiding in plain sight, appearing each morning on the steps of St. Peter's and meeting with those who were organising the freedom runs. He helped everyone who sought refuge, including many Jews, which absolutely infuriated Kappler. The SS commander tried to have O'Flaherty kidnapped with a view to execution, but somehow O'Flaherty always managed to survive, earning him the nickname the Scarlet Pimpernel. By the end of World War II, Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty had helped over 6,500 Jewish, American and British soldiers escape from the Germans, and his activities earned him the nickname the Scarlet Pimpernel of the Vatican, as he became the master of disguises, evading capture from the Germans when he had to leave the security of the Vatican to go on his rescue missions. One story which is famous in Killarney is once upon a time, having left the neutral confines of the Vatican for a Freedom Route meeting, the Nazis raided the house and O'Flaherty, who was hiding in the cellar. He was saved by sheer luck when two coalmen came to drop off their supplies, and he borrowed one of their outfits and strolled past the SS wearing the outfit and carrying a sack of coal. After the war, the Monsignor received many decorations, including Commander of the British Empire and the US Medal of Freedom. The Monsignor retired to Carsavine for the last 3 years of his life, and on the 30th of October 1963 he sadly passed away. His death was mourned throughout the world, including a front page tribute in the New York Times. Now, something like this would be very interesting on the field study, as behind the Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty statue are a number of medals. A task which could be carried out on the field study is to maybe cover the names underneath each medal and get students to evaluate and identify each medal. Our final stop on this field trip of Killarney brings us to Inishfallen Island. The monastery on Inishfallen became a very important centre of learning in the early Christian period in Ireland and is sometimes known as one of the oldest universities in Europe. Inishfallen Island is situated in the heart of Killarney on Lough Lane, one of the lakes of Killarney. Inishfallen Island is accredited to a monastery founded on the island in the 7th century by Saint Binion the Leper. It is thought the name Lough Lane is accredited to the island as it means the lake of learning. The island was occupied for over 800 years, and over a period of 300 years the monks who inhabited the island wrote the Annals of Inishfallen, which records the life of early Christian Ireland, but we'll examine that a little bit later. The name Inishfallen comes from the Gaelic meaning Inishfatleen, meaning Fatleen's Island. It is one of the most remarkable archaeological sites dating back to the early Christian age. Interestingly enough, one of the all-Irish Gaelic primary schools in Killarney at the moment is named Gaelscoil Fallon. The remains on the island today include a Romanesque church dating back to the 11th century, an Augustinian priory dating back to the 12th century, and an oratory dating back to the 12th century. There are fairly extensive ruins of the abbey to be seen on the island.